This week's episode is brought to you by the home and auto insurance brand Canadians trust most, Intact Insurance. Hello and welcome to the Jann Arden podcast. Sarah's not here today. Caitlin is here.
Hello.
And, for once we're glad that Sarah didn't show up, quite frankly.
I know.
It gives us a chance to really catch up. And
we can finally talk about her.
We can talk shit about her. Sarah is in Washington doing a podcast, kind of a Comic-Con.
I feel like she's at it's like a convention of sorts.
God, can you imagine the hookups at a podcast convention?
Okay, conventions are inherently horny. Do you not think?
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah, I've heard some just zany bananas things going on at conventions in general, but I would think a podcasting convention, so you have all these artistic people that a lot of them have during COVID started podcasts because they were at home. So I think there was something like 80,000 new podcasts that started between 2020 and 2023.
Wow.
Is that possible?
I mean, it is possible.
Like in one way or another. They may not all be like top 10 podcasts, but there's thousands and thousands and thousands of them out there.
Yeah. I mean, we're floating around a sea of podcasts. And we predated the pandemic. So I want to just differentiate us from the rest.
Yeah.
But I don't know how many of them lasted. Like you said, what the sustainability of all those podcasts would be. But Sarah is swimming amongst her potentially aroused peers at this podcasting convention.
And she's single. So Lord only knows the kind of info we're going to get when she comes back.
I want all the hot details. I feel like people are waking up hungover in their Marriott Bonvoy hotel the morning after. And they're finding like someone else's glasses on their bed, and then their glasses are on the other side. I don't know why I equate podcasts with glasses, but I do.
Okay. Listen.
Jann's like moving on.
No. I just know a couple of like horrifying stories of convention-y things. So.
Can you tell them?
I'm not going to say any names, but this is years and years and years ago. It was a music convention.
Oh, yeah.
And so it was one of the record company conventions. And the hotel had a huge cavernous lobby that you could look up 15, 20 stories. So like the inside was hollow. And the convention was happening down kind of in this lobby area. But if you didn't have your curtains shut... because all the rooms were on the inside, and there was, of course, railings because people had to get out of the elevator and walk to the rooms. But you could literally see people getting out on the 8th floor, walking to the room, and if their curtains were open, you could see what was going on. So there was, an incident in particular that's famous, like in the music industry, of a fellow having some self-pleasuring moments.
Oh, he was alone.
He was alone.
What's worse? I think alone is worse. I've just decided right here and now. I don't know why.
I feel like alone isn't as bad as being bent over the railing, or I don't know. Alone doesn't seem so bad. Alone could be just like a fleeting moment. Oh, I feel a little of this. I'm going to release a little I don't know.
I think alone for him in this situation is more embarrassing than if somebody saw him, bent over some anonymous person's butt or something like that. I just feel as though that it's
so terrible.
It is just so terrible. It's awful. I feel terrible for this person.
But he did realize that people were, looking at some point. I think someone was trying to like get his phone, like get him to answer his phone.
Oh my gosh. Like the front desk was calling him to be like,
don't know, maybe one of his friends that was down convention.
I hope he at least kept his shirt on. I hope he didn't like gear fully down, because like it could get weird. You don't know. He probably he thought he was alone. Who knows what his order of operation is? But that poor man. R.I.P. to his reputation.
I don't.
Do you remember at the Sky Dome, back when it was the Sky Dome, not the Rogers Center, how they had the hotel rooms that you could rent? and then you could watch the game from the hotel rooms.
Yes, I do remember that.
I forget the name of the hotel. I mean,
That was a big deal. So you woke up and then you just opened your drapes and you could watch the ball game.
It was so 90s. It was so 1990s. And people would go and they'd rent these hotel rooms. And they'd have a party up there and they'd be drinking and they'd pan over. And I don't know who back then, I guess it was a more wholesome time, but thought this was a good idea because eventually some lewd things were captured happening during a baseball game in those hotel rooms. I mean, it's a hotel room.
The attention. You have to understand that on
Yeah.
the other side of this very shiny coin, there are some people that are exhibitionists. They're very voyeuristic, and they would invite an audience of people to see them doing sultry things.
Yep. Lots of them out there. Have you ever seen a flasher? Have you ever been flashed?
As a young person, yes. I remember being at my grandmother's in Lethbridge, and there was a very kind of a boy that wasn't all that well that lived down the street, and his wiener was out constantly. Like his poor mother was always running down the street trying to collect this young man.
Oh, the poor mom.
I would literally like look at it going, that is the weirdest little weirdest little thing.
How old do you think he was?
I think he was 9 or 10.
Okay. So not
it wasn't a 16-year-old with a woody.
Yeah. Okay.
Peering around a tree. This was just a young fellow that just had his willy out.
Okay. Well, hopefully he grew out of it.
Or grew into it.
Well, you never know. Consenting adults. Yeah. I was once I shouldn't say inadvertently. It was
this podcast is off and running, man.
It really is. We want to get right into it. But I was commuting to and from Oakville for school. And so I was taking the GO train, and it's mostly commuters, right? I mean, that's not a lot of students on there. It's mostly people going to work, professionals. So I'm standing on the Oakville GO train platform for the Lakeshore line. So I'm standing there, and I'm heading back east into Toronto. The train that's coming from Union out west makes its way into the station. It pulls right in front of me. And everyone on the platform is treated to a man on a completely packed commuter train during rush hour. He's in a trench coat and a suit.
Trench coat?
Like a professional trench coat, not like a pervert.
Okay.
But I mean, it was in the end a pervert's trench coat because he turned out to be a sex pest. But he was wearing a suit and had a briefcase with him. I clocked a wedding ring, which was the most disturbing part of all of this. And he was pressed up against the train doors so that you could see the full length of his outfit and body. But the train doors weren't opening on this side. They opened on the other side. And he had his full package out pressed up against the glass. So that when you pull into the station, he's flashing everyone. And I'm not kidding you. It was probably, 5:30 p.m. from down the platform, because I'm at one end of the platform. So I see the nether regions coming in first. I kind of laughed because I was like, this is ridiculous. Then a woman let out a blood-curdling scream as if she saw a dead body at the other end of the platform as he made his way out. And I actually called Go Transit, and I told them about it, and they reported it to police, and they actually followed up with me, which I thought was kind of good. But that was the only time.
That's enough. One time is enough.
One's too many.
I've seen a few fellas hanging brain that they weren't aware of.
Like in shorts.
I have to accredit, when a fellow sits on the floor in shorts that have the little mesh on the inside to hold your knackers in there, to hold everything together, because they're not wearing underpants. They're just going with the underpants supplied by the sporting goods company, which is basically a mesh. It's the stuff that oranges come in. It's not enough.
It's not enough, man.
So, no. So when they sit on the floor with knees up, and there's a big gap and their legs are up, right? So you see laying on the rug, the indoor-outdoor carpeting, just a soft nut in a netted bag just on the floor. There's nothing weirder than seeing a ball that's flat on one side, and then it looks so flaccid because it is, but it's just a ball just sitting there. It's all you can do to not look at it.
Oh, it's very funny.
It is super funny.
It's really funny. in like a pathetic kind of way. It's really funny.
But this guy that I used to work with, finally I said to Ed, you got
Shut
to
up.
say, you got to say something to him. He what was his name? His name's not important. He worked in the studio in Los Angeles. This is in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
He wore shorts every day. It didn't matter what the weather was like. And flip-flops that should have been burnt. They should have been melted down and made into rubber bullets. But I finally said to Ed Cherney, my producer, I said, you got to say something. Let's call him Mitch for today. You got to say something to Mitch. Because I said he's always like sitting cross-legged in the lunchroom. And I go in there to like get a coffee, and there was no cell phones even then. Imagine this, like it would have been 93, 94. And he was just in there doing some kind of a game. I don't know. Anyway, he did have words with him.
And he did, and it stopped?
No, he started sitting on a chair at the little lunch table instead of on the floor.
I mean, that is an improvement, but
did it come from me? Like, I was mortified. Like, the next day when I see him, Mitch is sitting at a chair and not cross-legged on the floor with his nuts sitting on it.
Isn't it shocking to think sometimes, like when I have said something or spoken up about something, whether it's like in a work setting or just amongst friends, I'm always like, how am I the first one saying this out loud when everyone else knows that it's a thing? Like, for sure, everyone else could give a police description of Mitch's nut. Like, guaranteed, everyone had seen it for years. They were being
I don't
terrorized
think men
by
respond.
it.
I think they're very used to seeing it. Like, that's their fellow guy.
Oh my
What would be
gosh.
the equivalent for women? I don't know.
Like a lip down there, just being like hello, or like a boob. It's not really a boob.
I don't know. There's just something very specific about those netted shorts. Anyway, if you're joining us now,
hi,
we do have lots of things to talk about today.
More important stuff.
Caitlin Green and I are here. Sarah is at the Washington Podcasting Convention.
Mm-hmm.
She is a single lady. She's going to come back with some stories. So right out of the gate, I wanted you to explain one of the stories that you sent to me. And yeah, pick one of them. You pick, because I'm going to comment. I want you to pick one of the amazing topics that you had lined up for us today. And the first one is...
Okay, the first one was the Indian airline called Indigo, which is sort of a budget.
This was interesting.
Yeah, it's a budget airline that will now allow women to avoid booking a seat next to men on flights. This is the first of its kind ever introduced by an airline. And so what they're going to do is show women a pink seat at the seat selection page if there's a female sat there. And it will be accompanied by a female passenger if you select to sit next to it. Male passengers will not see this information. So women can choose to sit next to women, and men have no clue what's happening. So I really, really like this. I feel like everyone talks about having childless flights. I think we should have women-only flights.
Well, isn't Lyft all female drivers?
They do they have that option. Yes,
they have the option of getting a female driver. So we're seeing that happening more and more. Well, India, as you know, is in a big upheaval right now because they have a lot of issues with sexual assaults and murdering of women.
I mean,
like it is a plague on their society, and people are finally starting to push back, women in particular, and a lot of men.
Yeah, but it's it's a huge problem.
A doctor.
This story.
You probably know more about it than I do.
The story, Jan. The story is haunting me right now.
Okay.
This story is a female doctor, and her name is currently escaping me. But honestly, I would say this is just a massive trigger warning. It's a horrible story. Don't go looking for it if you're not ready to be genuinely terrorized by this, because she was sexually assaulted and brutally murdered while she was on shift.
By police.
I know.
A volunteer police? Like, what are they calling him? They're calling him a volunteer. I would liken it to a security guard type of person. I mean, I'm just making this up at this point, but he was a person in a place of power, and he had access, obviously, to this hospital.
Yeah.
And was she murdered at work?
Yeah, I believe so. And I also was under the impression at one point that there might have been more than one person involved in the assault. Yeah. And we have the many, countless infamous, we're talking the most horrifying end to women's lives imaginable. And women who then, some have survived these attacks. And a lot of times there's more than one assailant. and sometimes in front of their spouses. There was a case of a couple that they're travel bloggers, and she was assaulted by a group of men while her partner was like nearby, and it's terrifying stuff. I mean, they really do not have a handle on this. And then the most horrifying other part of the story was that her name started popping up on adult websites because men were looking for video footage of the assault. They wanted to see it. And so that is the type of rape culture that exists right now within certain parts of India. And I mean, it's very, very unsafe. It's an incredibly unsafe environment for women when you have your, safety taken away like that. It's really scary stuff. So again, if you heard the thing about the airlines and you thought, oh, this is kind of mean, and like, why are they doing this? And this is why.
Yeah,
because women
they have a real issue with the rape and assault culture over there. And it's much deeper than we can understand in our society. Just the way women are treated. There's a lot of arranged marriages that, women are, from the time they're 5 years old, this guy is going to be your husband. Like it's still very, that stuff is alive and well, that whole caste system and your, where you are in society. Anyway, we're very fortunate here. Once again, folks, all you convoy people out there screaming about Canadian freedoms and how dare you make us wear a mask or get a vaccine. We live really in one of the best countries in the world, and certainly as a female. And I've said this to you before, Caitlin.
Yeah.
Mom and I used to have, even when she wasn't quite as sick as she was, she'd say, "Can you believe you and I have our own houses?" Women living on their own, like my 80-year-old mother and me, like living in a house across from a field from each other. It's pretty special when I think about how far we've come. Anyway, moving on. We won't dwell there. Terrible.
But I will
story.
say that it is actually a genuinely like very good initiative that they're doing on this flight.
It's fantastic.
I think that it may start spreading to other airlines as well as you see interest in this really peak, because of course, like, sexual assault and safety is not an issue exclusive to India. I think that they statistically experience a much higher and more severe rate of this type of violence. However, it exists here. And when you see the story, there were so many comments underneath it of women from all over the world talking about creepy incidents that they had when they were on a flight. So I think this I could see pink seats popping up on many other airlines, but Indigo was the first one to do it, and good for them.
Yeah, I'm all down with that. Speaking of airlines and seats, this is a whole different side of this story. So this Asian woman was sitting on a window seat in a row of 3. I don't know what the airline is called. It's not even important for the story. Sitting beside her was an elderly woman, also Asian. Anyway, of course, this gum-chewing middle-aged woman comes popping up beside them. She's sitting in the aisle. They are in like the 6th row. So they're very close to the nose of the airplane. They're already sitting down, these 2 women. They're not traveling together. The middle-aged woman comes in and she goes, "Oh, hi." She says to the elderly woman, do you mind trading with my friend? She's in row 26, like row 26, because we're traveling together. And so the woman in the window seat is like catching on, like overhearing this conversation. This elderly woman is about to get up. She's understanding this English, like, oh, like she's supposed to move.
Yeah.
And so the Asian woman goes, "Excuse me, we're traveling together."
Oh,
so I don't know what you're talking about. She goes, "Yeah, sure you are. Listen, she's already said she'd move. My friend's traveling together. It's no big deal." So she starts just speaking Cantonese to this woman. And she calls her Connie. So the whole thing is blown up on the internet. She's like, Connie, she's speaking Cantonese. This woman doesn't speak Cantonese. She speaks something else completely, but she catches on
to what she's doing. The
80-year-old woman catches on, and she's like, "Oh yeah," and she's like, eh. and she's just talking to her, and they're having this conversation that this woman doesn't know.
Yeah, she's got no clue.
So she finally kind of caves in, and she goes, "Oh, okay, well, whatever. I just thought." She goes, "Listen, if you wanted to travel with your friend, you and your friend should have booked seats together. But we're traveling together, and she's not. Why the hell would she move?" So this woman backs off. Anyway, Um, I just thought it was a really, really, her name was Christina Yang. And it was one of her many journeys that she's taken on. She's the one that was protecting this woman. And I guess she put the whole thing on TikTok, and it's just blown up of people responding with comments. She was going from Seattle to Hawaii, and she
Oh.
was in premium economy. So not only was this gum
Oh.
chewing idiot middle-aged woman
Mm.
asking this elderly woman to go to seat fucking 26, they were in premium economy. Thank you very much.
I mean, number one, like, first of all, absolutely not. I mean, never. But also, don't ask an elderly person who's already gone through the trouble of getting to the gate, putting their stuff above them, sitting down. Don't make them get up and move to the. Like, it's the same thing as people who try to rearrange you at a movie theater, short of someone who can reasonably explain that through a fault of the airline, which does happen, that they were separated from their child, or like a parent who needed assistance in some way, or unless you're a caregiver in some sense. I do think it's a lot to ask someone to get up and move. Like, it's a pain in the
I
butt.
don't mind doing it. I've done it many times, but I've done it in like really a fair trade. I'm
Yeah,
by
exactly.
myself.
Yes.
I don't mind sitting in a window or an aisle. Sometimes people just say, "Do you mind if I have the window?" I'm like, "No,
Mhm.
cool, all good."
Yeah.
And but sometimes I haven't moved. I've just been like, "No, I want the window seat, and I'm comfortable.
Yep.
I'm not moving."
Yeah, but
But
and airlines have started doing the thing where they charge you for absolutely everything. And so some people obviously don't want to pay for the pre-seat selection, so they dice roll. But it's not like if
it's
you want to
worth
travel
paying the
together.
money, guys.
Yeah, it
If you
is.
don't want to be stressed out, I think some airlines it's between $25 and $45 to pick
Mhm.
your seat online.
Yep.
Do it.
Yep,
Do
I
it.
agree.
Best money you're going to spend, and it's just like Porter. Me and Lisa and Bev, we chose our seats.
Yeah.
So, and
It's
we paid for them, and it was worth it because we saw
Mhm.
people trying to do trades all up and down the
Yeah.
aisle.
It's deeply annoying that we now have to pay to do this, but it is what it is. And don't ask an 80-year-old person to move to the back of the bus for you. Like, rude. I like this story, and I like Christina Yang.
Yeah. Thank you, Christine. It's great. So if you're looking on TikTok, just look
Mhm.
Christina Yang up. She's on there. In other news, Donald Trump is using Taylor Swift AI shit or whatever, videos,
What?
music. Yeah, so
I haven't seen this story yet.
here's the headline. Trump posts fake AI images of Taylor Swift and Swifties, falsely suggesting that he has the singer's support.
Oh God.
So this was on CNN. Taylor Swift has yet to endorse anybody,
Yeah.
FYI. But I think
Spoiler alert, it won't be him.
spoiler, yeah. But the former president says he accepts the superstar's non-existent endorsement.
Ugh.
Trump posted, "I accept," and then he reposted this something on his Truth Social with Swift images. One of the AI manipulated photos depicts Swift as Uncle Sam with the text, "Taylor wants you to vote for Donald Trump." So someone has made a poster of her. I haven't heard her response yet. Like, haven't
Mm.
heard her say anything. The other photos depict fans of Swift wearing Swifties for Trump t-shirts that are all manipulated by AI stuff. So what the guy's such a dick. He's got to know there's going to be pushback from her and her camp.
I think the thing is that, he would assume that a bunch of his followers, even if this is then denounced and she says it's not me, they'll never see that. And, they'll run with it. And the amount of misinformation that I see people believe on the internet is not low. So he must figure, oh, well, even if she shuts this down, a bunch of people will still see it. And he could just say, oh, I was joking or whatever. But like, it's just it's very weird. Like, why would you even bother with this?
Yeah,
I don't get it.
he's just so the guy just drives me the goddamn wall. I just don't even know what to say. The other AI story that I was running by you this morning was this a mayoralty race going on in the United States in a little community, and I had it sent to you. I'm not sure. Um, okay, something truly bizarre and historic is happening in the state's capital. One of the 6 candidates on the ballot in Cheyenne. I didn't mean Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
So the mayoralty primary in Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Mm-hmm.
One of the 6 candidates on the ballot has pledged to let an AI chatbot run the city government, which is a first for a U.S. political campaign. The candidate librarian, Victor Miller, built a customized chat GPT bot called Vic, Virtual Integrated Citizen, which he argues could make more data-driven, unbiased decisions than any human leader of Cheyenne. This thing might get votes. Vic might get
Mm-hmm.
votes, and it
Yeah.
could win. So what does that mean? You're going to
Well,
plug in AI. Hey, we're wondering if we need a new fucking municipality building. Should we build a new wing on the hospital? Let's ask Vic, the AI guy.
it's really it's interesting to see it move in this direction. I was wondering when this might happen.
The
When
election's tonight.
when someone would suggest that having AI do a job would be safer than having a human being do it because they would be unbiased and because they would, again, like you said, make data driven decisions and then see how this goes. I just look at, is your average mayoral candidate in Cheyenne more qualified than AI? I have no idea. I don't know. Maybe what if you think about them in the context of, at least for Toronto, our previous mayors? Like, would I have taken an AI chatbot over Rob Ford? Probably. So it's really a question of who they're up against. But I do think it's a scary, slippery slope of signing your own death warrants over to AI. And you'd hate to think that if you had all these errors come up or if something went sideways, that you're like, oh, well, it was just this AI chatbot that did it. And you're like, well, this is stupid now. Why have we done this to
There's
ourselves?
got to be legal ramifications too.
Yeah, I'm
Should
surprised
we
it's legal.
fire half the police force? Let's ask Vic. Anyway, very interesting. I'll try and remember next week to
I will.
check in on the results of who the hell won for mayor in Cheyenne. There was something that we didn't talk about with you last week, and it's a continuum of your trip to PEI. And you
Ooh.
had some really cool stuff that you wanted to talk to us about, a play that you guys saw there.
Yeah, so we went and we saw this interesting musical, and it's called the 27 Club, and it's of course about the prevalence of young, incredible musicians dying at the age of 27.
Yes.
And it's this well written sort of through line where they describe the songs, like their life, their contribution to music. It almost is like a combination of a musical and like an informative music podcast almost, because it's like narrated, and then they go into this group of musicians, like local musicians, fantastically performing one of the songs by an artist who they were just discussing. So whether that's Amy Winehouse or Kurt Cobain or Jim Morrison or Jimi Hendrix, I mean, the list goes on and on. And it's called Harmony House, and it's owned and operated by a guy named Mike Ross, and he leads the show, but he has these amazing other musical contributors who are there. I mean, there was a guy named Max who was on the piano. I've never seen anything like this from a performer on a piano. He is performing, I don't know if you Google the heliotrope bouquet, it's a very famous piece of like piano music. Like you'll hear it and go, oh my gosh, like it's almost like ragtime. It's
Yeah.
really upbeat, very challenging. He is doing this with he is backwards playing over his shoulders. I mean, it was unbelievable. And the female singers, and again, these are local island musicians. There was a singer named Brielle. Oh my gosh, she just blew me away. And anyways, they do these amazing shows. And it all started with a show called American Pie. And they break through the song American Pie and they go through the music. And it was this huge hit in PEI. And it's in this really small town called Hunter River. And he bought this. It's almost like it's like a real theater, but it's like part of what was a church, and he's turned it into this amazing performing arts space, and it's sold out every night. And there's a pub underneath it, and when you go up to get your tickets at the box office, there was a woman outside on a veranda playing the harp. Like PEI is punching above its weight class for their art scene. I'll say that. They've They've always
Was this
done,
in
they have,
Charlottetown?
no, it's in Hunter River. It's in this little tiny town called
So
Hunter River.
it wasn't even in their main
No, it's not
capital
even in the
city.
Confederation Center. Like, I mean, it's really
How much
impressive
was the
what he's
ticket?
doing. The tickets were about, I think they were like $70 each, I want to say.
Cheap.
Yeah. And but like, man, the quality of this show, and I'm cynical about performances, and I thought, okay, well, it's just going to be this cute little down home thing. I was like, no, Mervish Productions could put this on and it would sell out. This could be the next Come From Away. Like, this guy is nailing it. And so yeah, he's his name's Mike Ross. He owns it. He stars in it. It's him and his wife Nicole who put this together. And the upcoming thing they have is going to be called Ladies of the Canyon, and it's all about the female singers of Laurel Canyon. And so you'll it's like, Joni Mitchell and Mama Cass and just these, amazing singer
Well,
songwriters. And
it was a scene that I don't know if it will ever be mirrored or
yep.
replicated again on
Hmm.
any level in California. It was everyone lived in this little canyon. You can still drive through Laurel Canyon in Los Angeles. I
Hmm.
was just there a few weeks ago when we did our Disneyland trip.
Hmm.
We drove over there to, I don't know, go get a coffee or something. But I wanted you to speak to who some of these musicians were in the 27 Club, because I wanted people to know how big these people were. Like in recent years in the 90s, Kurt Cobain was
Oh.
27 years old, and he joined the 27 Club.
Hmm.
But further that, it was Janis Joplin,
Hmm. Janis Joplin,
Jimi Hendrix,
Jimi Hendrix, Jim Morrison of the Doors,
like huge acts, all
huge
27 years
acts.
old.
Amy Winehouse. I'm forgetting some amazing ones that he featured that were of another generation, where you were like, oh, that person died at 27 too. And the stories, and like, this guy Mike Ross, he loves music so much, and he hones in on the fact that these are amazing songs that you're gonna want to hear performed live, that you're gonna love and do it really well. But also, he's honed in on the fact that there's a bit of a story here. There's a bit of a through line about the 27 Club and the stories of how each of these people passed away. And same with Laurel Canyon, like you were saying, like honing in on the fact that there's a really good story there. So for the 27 Club, he'll explain kind of how these artists came to be, their impact on music, and their big singles, and a little bit about their passing, but mostly just really share what made them such an incredible, impactful artist in their short time that they did have. Like, the fact that these were artists and people who were only 27 years old, but were just the biggest thing going in music.
I wonder
It,
what it is about being that age.
mhm.
When I was 27, I didn't know my ass from a hole in the ground. I was so naive. I mean, and part part of that is growing up in a really small community here and going to a really small high school. But I just, even when I left home, I felt like I didn't know anything. I didn't have any experience. It's no wonder my mother cried in the driveway as I was leaving with my friend in her VW van to drive out to Vancouver. And it was a nightmare once I got out there. I was just so ill prepared for adulting. But yeah, 27.
Mhm.
I didn't even have my record deal till I was 30. But when Amy Winehouse died a few years ago at 27,
Mhm.
it gave me chills
I
because
know.
it resurrected that whole 27 Club again, and people were speaking to that of what it was exactly, that
I
age
know.
group. And it
I
was
don't know what it.
all, these deaths were all drugs and alcohol, folks. So
Yeah.
just, it wasn't a car accident, it was drugs and alcohol.
Yeah. Oh, and it's a he talks a little bit about sort of how one piece that he was discussing in between the performances was about how many of these artists sort of led this interesting, high octane, kind of, unusual life, and that they would have these big breakthrough artist moments, like, kind of like, why do musicians turn to drugs and alcohol, this universal thing they have. And he says, I think a lot of them turn to drugs and alcohol after they've had their big first success to access their artistry. They sort of get into it because they think that this is going to bring them closer to that initial thing that they had when they were recording. It's going to bring them closer to their emotions. And so, maybe they are doing
Yeah.
LSD back in the 70s or whatever it looks like, and they kind of get that big hit from it and it allows them to access another part of their brain, but then they sort of lose themselves to it. It gets farther and farther away and harder to access.
Do you ever think that that it's partly to do with getting that energy from an audience as well? Like being on stage, having thousands and thousands of people cheering you on, fucking screaming if you spit on the stage or smash your guitar
Mm-hmm.
or, move your leg in a certain way. Like the amount of energy that comes at an individual. And then you leave the stage, the show is over, people go home, and you're sitting there. And how can you duplicate that? How can you go through your day-to-day normal human being life?
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen famous people have so many problems with this, um, for decades, of whether it's Marilyn Monroe you want to talk about, just that kind of fame just eating you alive. I've often talked
Mm-hmm.
about fame having teeth. Um,
Yeah.
but
It's
just
it's
so many,
certainly
so many people
something.
have trouble with drugs. It's like they're trying to replicate that high.
Yes. It's certainly something that is discussed by many different creative figures. I've heard that said from many stand up comedians who I love and some who I've interviewed. And they talk about how, you get that huge rush from everyone laughing at and enjoying your show.
Oh,
And then you're alone at the hotel room, maybe in a casino, you're far away from your friends and family. And that
the
might be a
mini
point.
bars there.
Yeah, like all that stuff. And so some of them don't have the issues regulating their addiction. Some of them become sober, and then some have serious problems. I mean, look at the story that happened, that brought Matthew Perry's name
I
back into the
know.
forefront again. So yeah, it's certainly something that afflicts a lot of creative people. And I do think it was interesting to hear him break this all down. And if you're in PEI, I can't recommend going to Prince Edward Island enough, especially in the
Oh,
summer. But if you're there, go. This is a treat. This is something really special. And I don't know if he has any interest in even leaving the island to do this show. But my gosh, it is real big city quality stuff, in a very small, intimate, amazing theater. And I just have a lot of respect for what they're putting on. It's so cool.
I went to a play last summer, that my road manager, Chris Brunton, who's worked with me for 20 years, he was involved in producing this. And
Oh, cool.
they somehow got $10,000 together to put this play on, called Cyclone. And I guess it
Hmm.
was an off Broadway. Anyway, you have to pay to get the books to do these shows. You can't just do them and not pay the creator, right? Which is
Hmm.
totally,
Yeah.
that's legit. That's what should be happening. Anyway, they couldn't afford a theater. So this guy that was one of the main characters and one of the producers used his parents' barn. I'm just telling the story because it reminds me of people doing really innovative things that aren't in big spaces.
Hmm.
And so it was like a legit barn. I had to follow my pin. Like I had 49 turns in rural
Hmm.
Alberta to find this farm. And there was about 50 of us sitting in there on hay bales, on chairs they dragged in from their mother's kitchen, but they had lights hanging from like the hayloft.
I
It
love
was
that.
so incredible of going in there and seeing this play with special effects and like a puppet in a box that was telling fortunes. And like it was no small. I said to Chris, I'm like, couldn't you guys have fucking had a gabbler where people could just sit in two chairs and do monologues back and forth to each other? That would have been way less. These guys are on a different world. They're on there's car accidents and they're on fucking roller coasters. But anyway, people are doing such innovative, cool things in theater and in
Hmm.
arts.
Hmm.
And I wish there was more money available
I know.
to do stuff like that.
The desire to create a home for creativity and for musical talent, I mean, what you can do on a shoestring budget is really impressive. And this was a very like legit auditorium. Like like they bought the building. There's now a pub and a restaurant there. They're making money doing this. But I just think seeing people who need to create so badly that they will do it anywhere, that really, I get goosebumps thinking about it. I'm so impressed by that. And it's such a pure desire and like yeah, it really, It blows me away every single time I see that. So, I mean, if you're in a barn putting on a play, like, good
I'll
for
be there.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love seeing
100%.
stuff like that.
Me
Absolutely love
too.
seeing stuff like that. I yeah. Hey, listen, I'm going to be singing for 6 people in my house, 4 people in the next couple of weeks that they paid $3,000 at my golf
S-
tournament to come
Oh,
in. So speaking of putting on a play, I'm going to hang a trouble light around my
I was
neck. I'm
going to
going to
say,
light my head
you
up.
are.
I'm going to
Yeah.
turn all the fucking lights off in here. I'm going to hang a trouble light. That'll be
Hmm.
my spotlight. And I'm going to play my guitar. I'm even going to tune it. And I'm going to feed 4 people, probably mac and cheese or something, and some garlic bread from Costco. And we are
Hmm.
going to have a night. They're going to get their $3,000 worth. I'm going to sing a few songs, and maybe I'll even put on some kind of a red cape. I don't want to give it away. I should only tell Patreon people what I'm doing. Anyway, I
Yeah,
do thank
tell
these
our
people.
Patreonies.
They're all former RCMP officers.
Oh, really? That's nice.
So maybe I'll even show them the gun that I have, and they can teach me how to shoot it. It was my dad's 22, and nobody seemed to know how to load it. So maybe
you,
I'll ask one of those guys.
you should. And then you should post it on our Patreon for all of our only Jans to see.
Okay. Another thing that happened to you in PEI. Sorry, I'm picking your brain today.
Hmm.
Um, you were in the background of a woman's pedicure. So
Oh, no,
you know
this
when
was
you're,
here in Toronto.
was it in Toronto?
It
Okay,
was here in Toronto.
I thought, holy shit, PEI had some
Mm-mm.
shiz going on.
I
So
don't think this would happen there.
you're in the pedicure chair.
Yeah.
You are surrounded by a group of young women.
Yep.
Yes.
Hmm.
What was happening?
So it was it
You were
was
just
one woman.
eavesdropping on their meeting?
No. Like, okay, so I'm at my regular nail place, and you know how the pedicure chairs are sometimes raised. So I'm raised up there. I'm getting my feet done. I'm chatting to my nail tech, and a woman comes in, and right away it's like she's giving like yard sale vibes. Like she's a mess. She's got a sweatsuit on. She's running around telling everyone how she lost her water bottle. Oh, I think I left it in my Uber. I'm outside. And she's holding an open laptop with AirPods in, and she's yelling so loud that you realize that she's like on a call on her laptop. And she's on a Zoom. She's on like a Microsoft Teams meeting. She's working remotely.
She's on the internet in the nail
Mhm.
salon.
She's at quote unquote work. So then she's doing the call now first in the waiting room in the seating area, the lounge or whatever.
Oh
And me and
God.
my nail tech are already laughing because she's like, immediately she is the main character in the nail salon, right? Like it's just, and not in a good way.
How can you not be?
Of course, now everyone else's energy is disrupted. We're all having a nice chill time, and now I'm listening to this like chaotic yard sale of a human being yell about their lost water bottle and then spreadsheets. So, anyways, and again, this is like 11 a.m. on a work day. So she settles down on the manicure station directly in front of me, and so her laptop is facing her, and so her camera is facing her, and so I'm behind her with my like pale ass legs on her Zoom meeting.
Can you see your legs on her
Yes.
screen?
Yes, I can.
Jesus H.
I immediately do what any person would do in 2024. I take photos of this and I send it to all of my friends and I zoom in on
Were you
myself.
hanging brain or any labia?
No,
Did you?
thank
Okay, good,
God I
good. Because
wasn't.
see, these are one of the situations you have to be mindful of.
No, I was not in mesh shorts. Thank goodness. I was
Yep.
in full pants. But I just thought to myself, this is the type of person when you hear about everyone being forced to go back into the office, it's always one person who pushes it and wrecks it for everybody else. You couldn't just live your life normally and go to your nail appointment on your lunch hour or after work, whatever. You have to drag everyone on your Zoom meeting into the nail salon with you, disrupt everyone's nail salon
And
experience.
nobody said one single word.
If I wasn't stuck like on the chair, I would have. I would have said for
Okay.
sure, like as I'm that type of person, think about
Okay, well,
me
okay,
what you
okay.
will.
I'm the woman on the meeting.
Mhm.
Let's do a reenactment. What are you going to say to me? I'm like, Bill, you've got to sell. We cannot go with 4.271. Okay. Yeah, you're
I would have
you're
burst
gonna
out
interrupt
laughing.
me? Are you gonna interrupt me?
Yeah, I would be laughing
So
so loud. I would be laughing so loud that you would have to stop talking and I would go, come on. Give me
okay.
a break. I would be like, you can't do that here. That's so weird. This is peak weirdo behavior. You're out in public. Go do this at your house. Like, come on. Also, like, close your company.
Isn't
If you're
that
doing business
just
from the nail salon, you don't
so
have a
have we
business.
lost all sense of our surroundings?
Mm-hmm.
Like, have we just lost it? How many times do I get caught up? And I'm not in town very often, but how many times do I get caught talking to someone? I think they're talking to me in a lineup. I've done it 20 times in 2024. Going, sorry, why did you? I'm on, and then I see their little white sticks
Yeah.
hanging out of their ear, but I'm
White sticks.
embarrassed every time because I feel like they're looking at me.
Yeah. And sometimes
They're
they
looking
are.
right
Like
at
sometimes they
me,
are
and they're
too.
saying, I don't know, when are you going to go? Are you going to wear that? Oh, this I don't think so. And then they're like,
well, and it's don't you find now like it's volume dependent as
Jesus
well.
Christ.
You should be a little bit quieter, I would say, when you're out on the phone, like in public, because that different, then I know you're not addressing me because the volume of your voice isn't giving like I'm addressing you. But if you're yelling, then I could think you're talking to me. So, and she was yelling
You have
and
no
she was
idea
just,
how much I do it.
Jann,
I
did you,
always think it's me, but I don't think I would have the gumption to say anything to her.
I would
I
say
don't think I
something
would.
like, I wouldn't say something aggressive. I would laugh. I would be very like, I would be lighthearted about my delivery for sure. But it would just be like, it would be a very obvious, like, come on, you're that chick at the nail salon right now on her call
But
with
would
her
she
lost
even
water
get it?
bottle.
Would she get it? And listen, if you are the girl that did that and you're listening, please leave us a voice note.
You should.
Please respond.
You can be upset with me. I'm fine with it. I stand behind my stance. And also I know the nail techs at the salon and we were all looking at each other and other customers, we were all looking at each other like, come on. This is a lot.
I would be mortified. I don't do that. Even, and this is the God's truth, God strike my mother, dad who's already dead in her grave. If I get a phone call,
Mm-hmm.
I never pick it up unless it's like absolutely, unless it's Bruce Allen. And I'm thinking, if he's phoning me right now, so I'll literally go, hey Bruce, can I phone you back in 10 minutes?
Yeah.
I'm trying to speak as, what the hell? Are you okay? No, I'm just at the nail salon. Can I just, whatever. And I am off that phone so fast.
Yeah.
And usually me in the chair at a nail, if I'm getting a pedicure, I got my eyes shut. I got my phone in my purse. I can tell I'm getting shit happening because my Apple Watch is going
Mm-hmm.
or once in a while, if I'm arsed, I'll look at it
Mm-hmm.
and it's my bird camera usually, Caitlin, to be honest.
It's your bird ring.
It's my bird camera, which goes off. I'm not kidding you, 60 or 70 times a day. What was I thinking? I need to disconnect it from my watch. But anyway, I'm really, really mindful. A, I don't want to draw attention to myself.
Mm-hmm.
C, I don't want to, I just would never infringe on somebody else's time in a private space like that. And I don't mind, like, sometimes I'll see 2, 3 girls that have gone in to do their stuff and they're really loud. They're sharing stuff on TikTok. It's always the
Mm-hmm.
phones involved. They're laughing. And I'm thinking, what a nice sound. I don't mind laughing. And I'm quite entertained sometimes listening to people's conversations. Now, I shouldn't be telling you this in a public forum, but I'm going to tell you this. I just ordered off of Instagram because that's what I fucking did. They were $69.99. They are earbuds, but they can do any kind of language. Like
Oh,
they can,
translate.
yeah.
Oh God, tell me how this works. I am
So
dying to
you
know.
have an app. You
Yeah.
hook your things up to your phone.
Yeah.
I'm dying to see. I haven't. They're still in transit. I just got a notification this morning
Okay.
saying that my translating headphones are now in. I think they're in Texas or something. So they've come from China, which is
Mm-hmm.
fine. You have a choice of 120 languages. Is that even possible?
Sure.
So one of the examples that they use that would be really fun to use these earphones
Oh, I know
for
exactly where you're going with this.
is a nail salon.
Of course, because everyone wants to know what someone's saying about you at the nail salon, and they're talking about you. They are
So they
talking
said
about
you
you.
can even just put one in
Yeah.
and it will translate with a bit of a delay. It'll get the sound in and then it will have an AI voice coming on going, that girl always wears that hat. I don't know why she wears pants so
It'll
tight.
be
I don't
like,
know.
her cuticles are so
But
dry,
for
not
me,
this
it's going to be
again.
like, Jann is so nice. She's the nicest person we've ever
Yeah.
had in here. Look how nice she is on her phone. Look how
See, like,
polite. Look how polite she is.
okay, when you said
I'll
like
let you
you'll
know.
hear, but when you said you hear other people talking in the nail salon, you're like, I can listen on their conversations and it's interesting. And it is. And this is the thing. I can't talk on the phone in public very well unless I'm on the move. If I'm on the move and I'm
Mm-hmm.
not staying near people, then that's fine
Mm-hmm.
because I know everyone's listening to you. You've given them no other choice. So like I have friends who want to talk at a nail salon, come let's do a group appointment. I'm like, no, because I'm not catching you up on my life while everyone else can eavesdrop. And also same thing with, if you're anywhere out in public and you're on your phone and you're having these really personal conversations, I'm very aware of other people listening. And so I don't feel comfortable. So I won't do it. I'm just not interested in sharing that information with everybody else. And it's because that you've given them no choice.
Nope.
So I really want to know how your headphones work because
I do
truthfully,
too.
they could be telling you anything and you wouldn't know. Those headphones could be
No,
telling you
exactly. But
anything.
I think, and I don't know how you will, I'm going to use them in a practical sense. Like if I'm in Italy in a cafe
Mhm.
wanting to order, like what do they have? Do you show them on your phone? Or they say something to you. I don't understand exactly how it works. And they may be the stupidest waste of $69.99 that I've ever done in my life because I don't know how. So, say you're engaging with the guy, the barista, asking him for a black coffee and
Mhm.
2 donuts.
Mhm.
Could I get a black coffee and 2 donuts? He can't hear what I'm saying. Do I
No.
hold my
No.
phone up?
You're
Um,
going to have to tell
and
me.
and he speaks.
I'm
Listen,
curious.
I really am curious of how to do it, or if it's just eavesdropping. If these are just an eavesdropping
That's what I
tool
think.
to be sitting somewhere where you can get a translation. They used another example of sitting in a foreign film.
I
So you're
mean,
watching a movie,
let's be honest. Who's doing that? No one's
you
doing
do
that.
you get subtitle. I don't know, but it was.
It's
I
for the
don't
nail
know. I
salon. That's like,
was
let's call it what it is. These are nail salon headphones or when people are traveling, that's what I think it is because it's
okay. I
exactly
got
like the
nail salon
Seinfeld episode.
headphones.
I love it. I think this is but the only thing is, again, there's no way to know. And you're going to have to get somebody who speaks another language to test this out with you and see if they're accurate. Because again, it's a case of like, you could trick me into anything if I put these headphones in. They could just be telling me that all these people are saying amazing compliments towards me when maybe they really aren't. So I don't know. But I'm quite curious. So I wish my Instagram algorithm served me those types of ads. I get the
Well, it's
weirdest
because I'm
damn
a
ads.
sucker for them. I think it's because I've bought things before. Last year, which I do really love, I bought headphones that don't go in your ear. I don't like having my sound blocked out when I'm walking around town,
Mm,
especially if I'm waltzing around Toronto in my hood. I want to hear what's going on.
yeah.
So I don't want anything in my ears. These go on the bone in front of your ear. They were
Okay.
really cheap too. And you know what? They sound great. They're just little things that fit over your ear. There's a thing that goes on your bone in front of your ear.
Hmm.
They sound really good. And I can listen to a podcast or listen to something when I'm walking around with Poppy and hear everything's going on. Someone honking at me, someone asking me if I want
Hmm.
to buy meth, someone, can I bum a cigarette? Like there's nothing I don't hear. I can hear traffic. I can hear stuff. So I have
Okay.
now been targeted by the social media powers that be. This woman will buy shit on a whim. She's got PayPal. She can autofill everything we've got. I can be in and
Hmm.
out of there in my transaction in 62 seconds.
Hmm. Well,
So
I
I
love
bought
this for
3
you.
coats last night. I bought 3 linen
Jesus
coats
Christ.
from a company called.
Don't promote them. They might be
No.
crap.
I did. I'm gonna come. The company is called. Where are you, company?
Is that
Shecloths. SHICLOTHS. Shecloths. The most fantastical clothing. I was on there for
SHICLO? Okay.
THS. Shecloths. I'm sure it's from Singapore or something. The clothing is amazing. These jackets are so cool. The price point was great. It was like $56 for a linen, really cool. It looked like old timey. It looked like I was buying Charlie Chaplin's
Wait,
clothes
how do you
after
spell
his
this again?
death.
Okay, hold on.
S.
We're gonna get into more of the she cloths discussion for our only
Okay,
Jans over on the
we should
Patreon.
say goodbye. We're at like
Yeah.
almost an hour. Listen, Patreon. Listen, what are we at Patreon? Let me do a little recap here, folks, because
Our
it is
Patreon's doing really
exciting.
well.
You guys, thank you so much. We have 252 Patreon members.
We love you. We call them our
And
only Jans, and they are.
you guys are our only Jans.
Mm-hmm.
Only Jans. And let me just say, because I have faced a little bit of pushback, not much, but I've had the odd comment. And I want to just speak to this. And somebody said it so succinctly in one of our voice notes. last week, and it was a woman that just said, I'm a Patreon member because I really believe in supporting the arts and paying for people for the art and for the time they put in. And she sort of thanked Caitlin and Sarah and I for putting the time in, which is multiple hours every week. It's a lot of hours between the three of us. It's not just, we don't just show up here and talk. We discuss the topics, believe it or not. We actually put a little thought into what we're going to talk about. And anyway, I believe in being paid for the arts. We don't get paid anything. We don't have a big corporation paying us a salary.
No.
Caitlin has not made a dime off of this since she's been here away from Bell. And even that was
I know. It was literally
debatable.
a dime.
It was if that. So we thank you. You know, I know people are kind of used to this way of thinking with Patreon or doing a monthly subscription, whether it's Netflix or Amazon Prime, blah, blah, blah. So we know what that's like, but $5, you know, I don't think it's ever going to be more than that. And we're offering ourselves. We're offering up ourselves every week of our conversations. We hope that it is a balm for the soul.
Weekly.
We hope you,
It's weekly. We never miss a week. Like we don't miss a week. We double record, we bust our butts, and we always have. And if you look at it this way, most like legacy media corporations make their content on your tax dollars. They get an insane amount of tax credits and write-offs to do this type of stuff. That's how the business works.
We don't do any of that.
We don't do that. We're not getting tax credits for the arts.
Since we've gone on to, you know, Sarah's Women in Media podcast, you know, obviously we are building from scratch. And what you're doing really helps us to make this. So I just want to thank you very much. Stick around for bonus content. We're going to talk more about really stupid shit that I've been buying off the internet. And I can't help myself. It's probably some kind of a disease. I've got something that's going on with me. I can't help it. I've been targeted by Instagram and I don't like it, but yet I love it.
You have a brainworm.
I'm so confused. So
you have a retail obsessed brainworm, but we're going to talk about that. And I want to get your thoughts on Pompeii. So we'll talk about that over on Patreon.
Oh, archaeology. Yeah. Caitlin, thank you.
And Madonna's birthday. Hello. Being there, being in Pompeii. Being in Pompeii.
Yeah. We're going to talk about that. We can't, don't say another word.
Okay. Sorry.
Jann Arden podcast. Thank you for being part of our Only Jann family. Only Janns. You've been listening to the Jann Arden podcast and show. I'm here with Caitlin Green. We'll see you next time. Totally do.